This week, I get to work nights. Getting off at 7 in the morning gives me an opportunity to drive by a few of my turkey spots to see if there are any turkeys around. Being Saturday and getting a later start than any other hunter, I figured that I wouldn't get first dibs on any spot. It was worth a try, though. I get to the first spot and see no one. This is in the woods near the river. This location isn't really a place where you can spot any turkeys, so I hike into where I have heard turkeys before. I don't even set up. I'm just not feeling this is the spot today. I try calling and hear nothing. I know I am not giving this place a chance, but figure it is early in the season and can have many more chances if today doesn't work out. So off to the next one. Between this spot and the next are many more miles of highway, which is closer to home. When it is time to turn off the highway, there is a pickup turning onto this dirt road too. I figure the only people going down this road would be ranchers or hunters. Of course, my thinking is, it is a hunter. I follow him for a while and think, God, this day is up to you. I hope to have some amazing experiences out in the wilderness. Hoping for this, and really, to fill my tag. I follow this truck for about another mile, and he pulls off. This area is private land, so I figured he was going to let me by. To my surprise, after I went by, he turned around. I continue on and come to a group of deer on the road. They were headed out to the field. But to get to the field, they had to cross a barbed wire fence. The first few went across just fine, then there was one left. By this time, I have pretty much come to a stop to not freak this deer out. I could tell it was last year's fawn. It kept trying to figure out how to cross and finally decided to go up the hill from where it came. As I pass the deer, I am approaching the next spot. No people and no turkeys. The one after that was pretty much the same, except there was a hen and Jake across the road from where I could hunt. I have called turkeys from that property before. I didn't feel like filling my tag with a Jake, so I continued on. I have one spot left to check. At this spot, I usually have to do some hiking, and by this time it is getting later in the day. I figure if I don't see anything, I will go home and go to bed to get enough sleep before going to work that night. As I pull up, I look in the distance, and there were two turkeys following a wash towards some fields. They weren't going to be visible long, so I hurried and got my binoculars up to see they were both toms. Being that I was already dressed from the first spot, it didn't take me long to get my gear and try to head them off before they got off the property. As I am on my way to cut them off, I get into a small group of trees and I spook a sharp-tailed grouse within just a few feet of me. Each time this happens, it tends to make my heart stop. I take a couple more steps and I spook another that was even closer. I get past the trees and continue on a few more yards. I see a spot that I want to set up at. Knowing it isn't in their path, I thought maybe I could call them up the little hill. As I put my decoy out, I get a glimpse of one of them through the few trees in the bottom of the wash. I get back to where I plan to sit down, and again, I am not feeling this set will work. I tried calling with no response. In my mind, I know where they were going. They only had less than 70 yards to cross the fence off the public land. I decided to gather my gear and head down to the path that they had taken. Maybe if they had already went through there, they might be willing to come back. As I get down there, they had done as expected. They were out in the field that was now on private property. At the fence, there is a grove of trees that obstruct my view to see where they are at. I quickly get set up, thinking they are only getting further away. I am now in position and make my first call. I did get a response of a gobble that sounded a couple hundred yards away. At this point, I didn't have high hopes of turning them back my way. I can call turkeys in, but I am not good enough to get them to change their mind if they want to go elsewhere. A little side note. Lately, I've been feeling I need to start reading more scripture. The only time I seem to is in church. I decide that I'm going to do this now. The previous day, I was going to read Proverbs 18 for day number 18 of the month. I start reading, and before I get half a dozen verses read, I look up, and there was one of the toms. He was even on my side of the fence. He must have ran towards me after my last call. At this point, he started working his way away from me. Not knowing if he saw me, I quickly let out a light yelp. It got his attention, then the second one appeared. They were both within shooting range, but were partially obstructed with brush. I am keeping my nerves at bay and let them see the decoy. They go back to where they came from, but this time they circle behind the brush. One of them gets into the open. He is still within shooting range. I see he has a nice beard, but want to see the other one before I shoot. The second Tom doesn't seem to want to come into the open. I thought I saw that he had a thicker beard and wanted to get a better look. As the first continues in the open, he starts heading away. At this point, I decide I will take the sure thing and take the first Tom. I shoot and he starts attempting to run off while flapping his wings. I take 2 quick follow-up shots to attempt to finish him off. At this point, I am out of ammo. I turn my back and dig in my bag for more. As I turn back around, I see he didn't go much further and was motionless. At this point, the other Tom was working his way away, but still not going too far, trying to figure out what was going on. Being excited for the bird that I had gotten, I stopped paying attention to the other as he left. I don't give credit of this bird for my skill. I'm thankful for the opportunity of the experience and the harvest of this fine-looking turkey. Today was a beautiful bluebird day with not much wind, which can be a lot to ask for at times. I always enjoy seeing the iridescence in the feathers of a turkey on a sunny day.